What's up, Steve? How are you?
I'm doing all right. I can't believe we've got 3 episodes left.
The last 3.
I'm
3
starting
hours.
I'm starting to miss you already, pal. I'm starting to miss you. We're not even gone. You know that?
Yeah, I feel the same way, Steve. Exactly the same way. It's been a long haul. You know, I figured we've done about 25. By the end of the show, we've analyzed approximately 2,500 scenes.
Wow.
Is that really insane? Yeah.
That's insane.
Give or take.
You know, some podcasts do season by season, and we've done every single scene we've analyzed.
Yeah.
Plus, we've analyzed each other. And that was the hardest part.
That was the hardest part. It feels like 2,500 scenes. But today, you know, we're continuing, you know, our run of the last few episodes, bringing back our favorite people. No offense to anybody, but we are. And certainly our guest today, our next guest, is absolutely one of our favorites, a fan favorite, fantastic actress. Steve, maybe you should introduce her, since you acted lots and lots with her.
My TV wife, who I enjoyed every second, and I mean this, every second of working with her. And I'm not joking. She was born in Brooklyn, New York. Her first movie was True Love, which is a good movie.
Great movie. I love it.
And Vinnie Pastore. She's appeared in over 75 different films and TV series, including Mickey Blue Eyes, Deep Blue Sea, The Blacklist, Nurse Jackie, Curb Your Enthusiasm. She plays a judge. She's terrific on Law and Order. SVU. She's done Blue Bloods. There's so many here, you can't even mention them all. She's appeared in 3 films with James Gandolfini: Angie, Fallen, and Romance and Cigarettes, as well as the Broadway revival of A Streetcar Named Desire with Alec Baldwin, I think Jessica Lange, right?
Yep.
And Jim. She was nominated for 2 Emmys for her work on The Sopranos. She's appeared in 53 episodes of The Sopranos, same as me. I've done 53 episodes. Please welcome Janice Soprano, Aida Turturro.
There she is.
Yeah, she is. You look terrific, my friend. You look terrific.
Okay. Thank you. Hi, guys. I was listening to you before I came on, and I'm like, 53 episodes? Wow. I didn't even know that. You know all those things.
53 episodes. Wow. I did 53. Michael,
no.
Did you do all 86?
You did.
No, I wasn't in the last 3.
Oh, that's right.
And there was a couple, like maybe 2 or 3 I wasn't. I was probably in about 80.
Wow, that's 80. A lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot,
that's
yeah.
A lot.
Yeah, great to see you. So look, let's get right off the bat.
Okay.
Right off the bat. Let's go.
I can't see myself, but
who was a more evil character? Janice or Olivia?
Ooh, I would have to say Livia. I would have to say Livia, because when you say, I think her psychosis was deeper. She was smart. Even though Janice was smart, she had a lot of more pain in her. Like, I think she was more tortured by her mother, and there was more of a sadness for her, I believe. I think her evil came from more thinking that she had to survive in life. You know what I mean? So I don't look at her like she was an evil person. I think Livia was also a sick person, but I think she had a little bit more evil in her. A touch.
Really?
More conniving. I do. I really have to say it.
Aida, I think you're being partial, because Livia never murdered anyone.
But mine was a mistake. Mine was like an accident. I mean.
What accident?
Well, babe.
You went upstairs, he punched you in the face, you went upstairs, got a gun and killed him.
I know, but he hit her. I mean, it was like a self-defense. It was like, say, okay, maybe if there was another thing, like a bat, maybe she would hit her with the bat, but then he would have hit her harder. She was just taking care of herself. I mean, I honestly, even though that she did kill someone, I don't know, I think that she was misunderstood. I do. Anyway, you got my answer. Okay, that's my answer.
That's your answer.
That's a good
think
answer.
it's
See,
Yeah.
we have to be, I'm sympathetic to my character too.
Mhm.
I cut him a lot of slack. I see the point, his point of view. You can't just judge him as this or that,
Well,
right?
well, I guess it is hard to be, impartial. I think it is hard because when you're being this person, you're coming from a whole different place. So I don't
Totally.
look at her like, oh, she's evil. I never really ever thought she was evil. I thought she did some bad stuff, but only in survival mode. That's, again, that's just me. I mean, no.
But you know what's funny is we all, we love these characters, Tony and Paulie and Silvio, and we it slips away at times. I mean, they're flat out murderers.
Yes, it does slip away.
And
You're
yet,
100% correct.
They're murderers. They rob people. They rob innocent people. And yet,
Yeah.
we like them. We want to watch them every week. It's quite amazing when you think about it.
Well, I think that's part of the beauty of the writing, in the sense that they, the creation was taking these people, these characters, and making them full people. Here's a full person. If there's good qualities, I'm sure, if you know somebody who you really dislike in town, who runs the drugstore or whatever, when they go home, maybe they're really nice to their family. Maybe they buy special gifts. Maybe they cook great dinners and give kisses, and then they go to work and they're miserable. I don't know, but I'm saying there's different dimensions to people. And with the writing, they really made full characters. And with those full characters, you fall in love with some parts of their charismatic ways. And then, the other shit, you kind of been ignoring the fact that they are torturing and killing. And
so you're telling me the prick that I can't stand that works in the grocery store across the street. This prick is a nice guy when he goes home, you're telling me?
I'm not saying everybody. I say he could have some good qualities. There are people who are just goddamn miserable, and that's just the way they are. And I tell those people, fucking get over that shit and be nice, okay? I have no time for miserable.
I hear you. When what was it like for you, if you remember, going into the final season? Did you feel it was time to end the show? Did you want it to go on? Did you trust, what the writers would, that it was time to end if they decided it was time to end? What were you thinking?
Well, I think thinking about David, and as you've watched a lot of series, a lot of times people, they look at it and they say, oh, I want to keep going and we want to keep making money, and if you don't have a creative thing to produce, if you can't get the ideas to go on, then you're going to fall short. And I think David felt like it was the end for it. And I can only respect somebody who's put all this quality out to say, wow, maybe I don't have anything that could be on that level to continue. So I did. I mean, was I sad at ending? Well, because of the family, because of when you're doing something fantastic that you love, and the sense of the camaraderie and, the writing and the acting and the job and the people on the set and the crew, like it really was a lovely family on all ends, and you were happy to go to work, and then you had a job. But it was sad. It was sad. I near the end thinking, oh my God, for me, I came the second season. So, all these years I've been part of this existing, romance, so to speak. And now it's going to end. And it's a very, very hard thing to let go of. And yes, near the end, in the ending episodes, I really found myself getting sad about things like, oh, wow, this is the last time I'm going to have a scene with so-and-so. This is the last time I'll hang out with this crew, or I'm not going to, my last scene at all. This is my last scene. And, just a lot of the lasts, and the fact that a lot of it was just not so much being Janice, but being with the gang, the crew, with everyone, and having this wonderful time. It's like you lose your family. I didn't lose, again, we stayed family for a long time. We still get to interact at times, and some closer than others, but yeah, it was a big loss. I'm sure other shows go through that, but I remember specifically, I don't know if it was my second to last scene or one of my last scenes. I vividly remember a scene with Dominic, where Dominic was in that old age kind of mental place. And I remember going there and having a scene with him. And it just really, I do remember being very emotional that day, and something about it kind of ending and working with him. I do remember that day specifically going like, wow, it's coming to an end. I was very, very, very sad. Very sad.
Yeah. I remember, I think when I came back from the Christmas break, because we started in July. Remember, we were up at the lake house, Aida?
Oh, okay. Right. That was the beginning.
That was in July,
Okay.
right? And then, it didn't really hit me until like after the Christmas break. I came back and this was it. Like you said, last time we're going to shoot here. Last time we're going to shoot there, et cetera, et cetera. Do you remember exactly your last scene, or you don't remember?
You know what? I'm wondering if that scene that I just spoke about with him and that was my last scene. I think it might have been. I'm not, you know what? I don't know why I'm blanking it out, but I did. That might have been it. I'm not 100% sure. I feel like maybe I had that and maybe some other little thing that wasn't really a scene or something. So maybe that was my last acting thing. But yeah, and just, I don't know, I don't know. It just does live on. And just you guys having this wonderful show, it's really given people a chance to relive it a little bit and enjoy it and get to know the people on a more personal level, which has been great. A lot of people I talk to, or if I do, sometimes I do the cameos, they all talk about the show and meeting, enjoying what you guys have brought back, that the intimacy of each show and each episode.
I wish we enjoyed it as much as them.
I know. Listen, you bastards,
do you have you felt the kind of resurgence of the popularity and this new generation discovering it? Have you witnessed that? Do you feel it? Yeah,
sure.
Young people.
Yes. It's very weird when people look at you. Oh my! And they see you and they're like, hi, and you're like, oh, hi, and they're like just started the season, they're young because they were probably not even, some of them weren't born and some of them couldn't watch it, and so they're just starting these shows because of all this, what do they call, where you could get everything online. Streaming, that's the word. So they're enjoying it, and it is so funny. It's almost like it just came on TV. Because they just started it. They're like, I just started watching, and you're like, oh, that's great, I have a hard time going back and watching it. And I will. I'll probably start it when everybody's over it already. I'll be like, oh, I just saw it. It's just hard to watch yourself. But yeah.
Oh, I hate watching myself.
Oh,
it's
God.
hard. I didn't watch it, and neither did Steve. From the time it went off the air, we started rewatching it for the podcast, and I'll be honest. It's better than I even thought it was. I mean, it really holds up to scrutiny and just like the filmmaking, the acting, the writing, everything. It's really, really great. It just
I think I'll do it. Yeah. I mean, it must have been also interesting to watch it, knowing you're watching it with Steve, not physically, but doing that with him.
Yeah.
And then having the opportunity to look at each one, sometimes being alone in the house, I don't want to watch it by myself.
Yeah,
I understand.
Me and my dog.
You know what I always thought there was a possibility. Michael, you're going to think I'm nuts here, Aida. I always thought there was a good possibility Bobby and Janice were going to kill Tony, and Janice would take over the family.
Wow.
Bobby was number 3 behind Silvio. I always thought that was a possibility.
Wow, I never thought about that.
That was probably my...
I was asked by somebody who would be the best boss after Tony, and I said Janice.
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah.
I think she did.
I kind of believe. I think she's better than the other people. She's a soprano.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She is a soprano.
She's very smart, manipulative.
Yeah, she was smart. Mm-hmm.
We also, there was a question, who do we think Janice would have wound up with? And I think we said Paulie or Artie Bucco.
No, not Paulie. I said Artie Bucco.
She totally went.
No, I said Artie Bucco maybe.
Artie Bucco?
Yeah, but she would have, Artie Bucco, she would have walked on top, walked all over. He wasn't strong enough. She needed someone strong and weak. strong and weak at the same time. Strong
Well, you
enough
could-
to get to bed. Right.
You could have ran your fingers through Paulie's wings.
Yeah. Oh my God, it's so interesting. Life.
When did you find out about the finale?
When
did
did I know? I didn't get the read through. I mean, I didn't understand. I don't remember things, but we did the read through, but they didn't really tell us, right? At the read through,
I wasn't there. We weren't there.
That's right. Shit. I was going to ask you guys. I don't know at the read through how it ended. All I know is I was surprised when I watched it on television. So they didn't say, okay, and the TV will go black.
No,
That's
but it
not
did
what
say
happened. Yeah.
fade to black. That I
Oh, it
remember.
did?
It
Oh, okay.
said I read the script. It said fade to black, but I didn't know it was going to be abrupt like that.
But also when you're reading it, right, when you're reading it and then you're like, oh, okay, and you're in it and then you're watching it and oh shit, it's final and then it goes black or even just fit. I guess you don't really comprehend it visually. I mean, when you're reading it until you actually see it. And I was surprised and everyone's like, well, what does it mean? I was like, I don't know. Go talk to David. I just think that life went on. That's what I always thought.
Okay, so
I looked at it that way.
We're asking everyone, is Tony Soprano alive or dead? In your opinion?
My opinion, okay. My first opinion was there was no answer. That was my first thing. That how
really?
Life goes on and we're just going to continue life. That was my idea of it. Like instead of making anything a definite, it was just like, okay, now we're gonna end where we came in. That was me. I really don't know if he's dead or alive. I think he'd still be alive. I don't think he got killed.
That's what I think.
I think he's alive. Yeah.
I think he's alive.
I don't. I think he's dead.
Yeah. You think that? I think it just was really meant to continue, but what do I know? I honestly have. That's what I love about David. It's like, I don't know, make your own decisions.
That's the brilliance of it. Yeah.
And people hate that. They want to know, why did you do that? Give me an answer. But life doesn't always have answers.
That's exactly right.
Does not have answers. And you think this and then it goes that way. I mean,
yes.
We don't know. And especially after this COVID, we learned that you don't know. We plan for this or we worry about that. And who knows? We don't know.
It's unpredictable. Life is unpredictable, minute to minute.
Unpredictable. Yeah.
Did we talk about this last time that David at one point mentioned, I heard him mention this at one point, that he thought it would be funny to have a good idea to do a spin-off, The Bacalas, as a sitcom?
I don't remember if we mentioned that. I didn't. David actually said that?
Yeah, he said it.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Janice and
Bobby.
Bobby.
Told me last time. Yeah.
Like
Janice
a half-hour comedy.
That would be fun. A comedy? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I love it.
So what do you think that scenario is? So she's cooking in the kitchen. I come home from work. She starts yelling, take out the garbage. What's the scenario?
Well, I'm not cooking. She's not cooking in the kitchen. You should know that. She went to the freaking pork store and she bought shit.
We had a big mansion by then, right? We were living in a mansion.
She ain't cooking. You should know better than that. She's exhausted.
When is the first time you met Jim?
Oh boy. Okay. Well, this is a very, very impressionable moment. It's in my brain. It's so in my brain. I could see it every day, and I always talk about it. So here I am, and I'm in the this big rehearsal room for a rehearsal of Streetcar Named Desire. And we're waiting for the guy. So the guy that's playing, I'm playing Eunice Hubble, and I'm waiting for my husband to arrive. And James is late. Of course, he's got to be late. So he walks in the door with his bike, and he's all handsome and tall, and he has hair, and he takes a chain from his bike. It's like around him, and he walks in, and of course he's late. I was like, oh, great. I got to deal with this guy. Okay. This is like drama. All right. Oh my God. And then we do the reading, and he's very open and great, but he's got a lot of power. And I'm just like, oh no, another fucking actor. This guy's like, but attractive and charismatic. So I go to therapy that day. I'm like, oh my God, the guy I got to work with. I say, I got to stay a million miles away from him. He's trouble. But it was great trouble. And I always remember that. But he, you just knew, I knew he was special. And, I think of James and talk about James all the time, and, it's hard sometimes to get pissed off because when somebody dies and everyone talks about him because we're all talking about The Sopranos. And then sometimes like people will say shit that's not true. And I get like, I want to have a fight with them.
So do
I get mad.
I feel the same way.
Like, everyone thinks, oh, this thing and then that thing. And it's one thing when you bullshit and people are alive. You bullshit or you write something or somebody says, oh, this, and someone's alive so they can come back and say, excuse me. But when you're not alive and you start saying shit, that's when I get crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm like, excuse me? Anyway, but I do remember that first time I met him. And, I still love him, but I talk to him. I told you guys, I talk to him all the time. He gets me work. He does a lot of things for me. And I have like little jokes with him. Oh, yeah.
Do you bring up the chicken salad to him?
No, he knows that. He was gonna. I didn't even know he was gonna make a shirt with the chicken salad. Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes I might say, "Oh yeah," he was gonna make a shirt saying, "Where's my chicken salad?"
That's funny.
I wish he did.
Because he made a shirt that I have. That was you, Tom Aldrich, Carmela's father. Right?
Oh yeah.
And he says in one episode, "Who are you, the minister of propaganda?" And Jim had that on a shirt. I have that shirt somewhere.
Yeah, he was
minister of propaganda.
But that's one of the reasons, guys, that the show worked. And I say worked in the sense of I'm not talking about the writing and that. It worked because we all kind of came together in the respect from the top. It's like James made it be like, baby, we are a family.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
That feeling on, off, who are we hanging out with? Everybody. It wasn't, oh, well, I'm the star and you're the prop guy.
No.
Never. And because of that, and it comes from the top because the number one, if they're a dick or they're an actor, that's all, there's a lot of tension and there was a lot of love. And it was, like, I still run into the gang, different people, right? When you're working.
Crew people.
Crew people all the time. And they're family.
Me too.
I love it. It's total family.
Me too.
It's like, I was Anthony Hare. I was just doing this movie up in Connecticut. I was so happy to see him. I didn't know anybody but him. I was like, oh my God.
He's a good guy, yeah. But, let's explain that for a second. When you say number one, there's a call sheet that comes out every day. Right, the day before you're going to work, and the star of the show is number one. Like on The Sopranos, Jim was number one, Edie was number two. I don't know, were you number three, Michael?
I was four.
Four. So
Lorraine was three.
Oh, Lorraine was three. Okay.
5, and so on and so on. And that's just how it goes. And like you said, one thing, Jim and all the cast always ate in the employee cafeteria.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
With the crew.
Yeah.
That doesn't always happen. Sometimes, the stars of the show disappear. They don't eat, they all eat together in the crew.
I don't do that anymore.
No, actually. Aida, Michael won't even eat with me anymore.
No.
I know. Well,
he's too big. He's too big.
I stay in my trailer.
No, I only go with the crew.
You go. I think another reason, that feeling you're saying of like that kind of camaraderie and family. Also, a lot of us came from very similar backgrounds. New York Italian American. We went into acting. We studied. We did theater. We were all kind of in a similar place. We had all done movies and theater. People knew us. They didn't know us. And then all of a sudden, like you and me and Edie and Johnny and even the older guys like Dom, and like we all kind of.
That's true.
And then to have this success on something we loved and were passionate about together really even bonded us further, I think.
That's true. It wasn't. We weren't like in Hollywood. Saying,
no Hollywood
oh my God.
shit.
Yeah.
There was no Hollywood people.
No.
None of that. That wasn't going to fly. The Hollywood shit.
No, it didn't work. And it was just nice to be, normal and be blessed with writing like that because, the writing is a lot and the actors, but like you could be the best actor in the world if you don't have good writing, man. Good luck. It is
Yeah,
not going to
that's
happen.
true.
It is not going to happen. No matter what you say, you're like,
I agree.
No,
I
you're
agree.
100% right.
you know.
There's nothing worse than you have something bad on the page and you go, how the hell am I going to make this sound real? Right?
Oh my God, are you
What
kidding?
the
Oh my
fuck? We
God.
all been there.
Yes.
What was the best thing and the worst thing about being on the show?
Okay. The best thing. Oh, okay. Just popped into my head. For me, my dad came back in my life after years of not being in my life because of, his some levels of illness that my dad had, and he came back into my life, and he got to share, and he was very proud of me, and he got to share in, it wasn't so much like the success, but in what I was experiencing of doing a great show, being happy. And he got to be there with me during this period, and he was really proud. So that just popped into my head, and it was just a beautiful thing to share with my dad. And I'll never forget taking him to one of the Emmys, and it was that part of it, to share with someone you love, and that he was so proud. Taking him on the private jet because it was after 9/11, and I was like, he loved it, and he went to the peninsula. So I think that was one of my favorite things. And it was a more personal level. I'm speaking of. And the hardest thing was when it was so popular, and I was a very open, giving person to people, always kind of talking or signing autographs. But once in a while, when people would be a little bit unfairly aggressive somewhere, like, and like hit you or kind of, be drunk. And then if you got a little, like, kind of give you a little space, they get like all upset with you.
Yeah.
And, for 9 out of 10 times, you're loving and giving. And then you felt a little like you had no privacy once in a while. And yet I love to share with the public. But it was like that level of, like, God forbid you don't, make that second for that person. And sometimes they'd act like you were a shithead or something.
Sure.
And you're like, but I'm not a shithead. You're just being completely,
The thing
inappropriate.
Is, people don't know what you're going through. You're on the phone and they're trying to talk to you, and like, I'm having an argument with somebody.
Yeah, right.
Like, hey, what the fuck?
I was walking down the street, so sad one day. My mother was dying. I was going to see her in the hospital. She had cancer. And I just couldn't. And this guy, like, jumps in. He doesn't read my face. And he was just like, hey. And I was just like, I can't right now. I literally was like in tears. And then I think he gave me like an attitude. I was like, okay, I can't, like that kind of stuff. But I mean, I'm sure there's so many wonderful things, I could go on and on, But
do you think I was going to ask you, why do you think the show has become so iconic and remains so popular? Part of it, I think, is that magic, that camaraderie, that connection that everybody had together. Because you can't create that. You can't, like, force that. You can't just put it, it's just, it either happens or it doesn't. But is there something you could put your finger on and watch? Because not every show finds a new generation of crazy fans.
Yeah. I don't know. Again, like, not watching it, like you guys got the opportunity. I guess I would have to assume that it was a groundbreaking show, which was the first time opening up on these levels where other shows followed. And I guess what I do remember about the show is that it really hit a vast audience.
Yeah.
I didn't care the age. I didn't care the ethnic group. It was all like open, people loved it. Lawyers loved it. People in the project loved, it didn't matter who you were. It didn't matter where you came from. It didn't matter if they were putting you down and up. It was just a show that people respected. And I guess because of the characters being human. So I'd say, Oliver, come here to mommy, my dog. But I was really proud. Oh, he's a yellow lab. He's a chubby boy because, he has too many treats. But okay, go hang out. And then Ike is here, his son, our neighbor's dog. But I would say that it was really, I'd say, the combination of the writing within enhancing the characters, the people, they were real characters, and that it hit everybody. We were talking about people, a lot about the people and the relationship. And yes, it was based around the mafia, blah, blah, blah. But it was always when I'd walk down the street, either, a bike messenger would be like, I love the show. And then a lawyer would love the show. So I think it really hit a lot of people, but I can only say it was probably the way it really affected a lot of people in the writing and the magic in between. I mean, there's a lot of good shows out there now and some wonderful shows. And it is crazy surprising that there was a resurgence at this point of like a very, very big resurgence,
Oh, yeah.
Can I ask you about the painting behind you?
Yeah, that's one of my dad's.
Your dad made that, really? Your dad was an artist?
Abstract
I did not know that.
Yeah, actually amazing. He actually was sold to Allen Stone Galleries, did really well. But, artists are artists. And surviving as an artist, the art is not always associated with the business when you're a true artist. I'm talking like the ones who suffer inside a lot. But my dad hasn't been around in 20 years.
It's a very cool painting. It's really nice.
Thank you.
Aida, I couldn't thank you enough. Thank you so much. Really, it is always wonderful. You put a smile on my face.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You be well. I'll see you soon.
Yes,
we're going to send the book out to you. Thank you very much.
Yes. You won't be offended if I don't read it overnight.
No.
Right? No.
Just put it on the shelf. Put it on your shelf.
No offense taken.
Thank you guys, both of you. And
good to see you.
And congratulations to you.
Thank
bravo.
you very much.
Bravo, really, bravo. Okay, I'll talk to you both soon.
Hopefully, see you soon.
Ciao.
Bye.
Ciao. How do I do? Okay, do this.
There you go. The great Aida Turturro, everyone.
Yeah, she's awesome.
So great to talk to her all the time. Really. It's a wonderful actress, a wonderful person. What you see is what you get. No bullshit there.
No, she's awesome. I mean, and watching these episodes, she's great. I mean, just great in this role. Just,
Oh, yeah.
She kills it. She kills it. It's
Great.
very real and very authentic and really deep and funny, hilarious and crazy and everything, I cannot imagine someone else doing that part.
No,
I just can't.
Not at all. What'd she say at the time? What's her first name? Mary Gay Harden?
Marcia Gay Harden was up for it.
Marcia Gay Harden was up for it. She's a wonderful actress. I'm watching her on the show now, but I think the only person that could have played that role is Aida.
What was Annabella considered at one point for Janice? Why do I think that? I heard that. Yeah. People were right for the roles they did. I mean, Gloria, Annabella was genius as Gloria. I mean, that.
Great. I can't, Michael, I'm going to be honest. I don't see anyone in the roles except for the people
who did it. Yeah. Of course.
Don't you agree?
Sure. Absolutely.
I'm sure many a guy read for, Dean Moltisanti.
I guess so. I don't know if we asked Sheila and Georgianne that, but probably.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure of it. I mean, all the roles. He didn't look at three people. I mean, it's tons of people for all the roles. Really.
So we had a great dinner this week. I want to talk about it because it was kind of a revelation to me. I want to speak about. We went to Lucali's in Brooklyn on Henry Street. That's Mark Iacono's place. We went with our doctor, Victor Massey, right?
Yeah.
And we went with our buddy Carmine.
The man.
Balsamo. Carmine. Balsamo. You hear us?
Carmine, who says we don't mention him on the podcast. He's kind of the unofficial mayor of Cobble Hill. He grew up down there. And Lucali is a place that you're very difficult to get in. They don't take reservations. Lines are around the corner. It's been there for a number of years. And I tell you what.
And it's just dynamite.
The
pizza's so dynamite. And we sat down with Mark and he told us his story about how he got into the business, how he took over this candy store that was in his neighborhood for generations that he grew up hanging out in as a kid. And it was going out of business and he wanted to take it, he wanted to preserve it, but then decided to go a different route. The pizza is out of this world. And what I really kind of came to, what he's done that was really smart is, everyone's trying to do this authentic Napolitan, authentic Neapolitan pizza. They get the flour from Naples and the tomatoes from, the Campania, whatever they do. He went out and said, I'm going to make the best New York slice there is. Best New York pizza. Well, he doesn't serve slices. He serves pies. The best New York pizza. And I really, I've tasted a lot of pizza. I was in Naples. I had pizza there. New York pizza is the best pizza. New York is better than Italy. One of the things we do better here, and people are going to go crazy that I said this. Purists are going to say that I'm wrong and that this or that. New York pizza is better than Italian pizza. And Lucali's perfected the New York slice, the New York pizza. He really figured out how to elevate that. Instead of trying to do this artisanal thing, authentic Neapolitan thing, he said, I'm going to make the best New York pizza there is, and he did it. It's amazing.
Well, first of all, the atmosphere is wonderful. Right? We sat in the backyard, but the atmosphere is wonderful.
Oh, it's great.
They're making the pizzas right in front of you. You're watching them make it. Watching the ingredients right there. We had bruschetta, which was incredible, and he grows the tomatoes in his backyard there.
And the basil in the backyard.
We're in the middle of Brooklyn. We're in the middle of a brownstone in Brooklyn, or a building in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
You didn't taste the meatball. The meatball was out of this world, man.
Yeah. And it was a beautiful Indian summer. It was like 70 degrees at night.
Beautiful.
We sat in the back for 3 hours, ate, talked, laughed. It was, I want to thank
really was,
Mark and his
Mark.
staff. I think her name was Crystal, the waitress, who just was great. And everybody there. It's a great experience. I would recommend it highly. That goes on the list, Andy. Make sure.
Absolutely. And also Dr. Massey, Victor Massey, a wonderful doctor, in case you need one. And Carmine. Say it again, Michael. Carmine was there with us.
Balsamo. Yeah.
Let's take a break and get into the episode.
When I logged on, before you came on, Andy just took a break. He's not listening to this. I don't know who he was on the phone with, but he was ripping them a new asshole. He was like, do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? I will cry. I got really scared. I kind of pretended I wasn't listening. I don't know who he was talking to. He was like a madman.
He became a tyrant, this guy.
I don't know what was going on. I think it might have been some vendor or somebody that works. I don't know who it was, but it was scary.
He's like a Scott Rudin. He became like Scott Rudin, the fucking producer.
He was going off on somebody, just saying, this is the Talking Sopranos podcast. This is not amateur. He was going on and on. It was scary. Yeah.
And you know what, folks? We've had a lot of requests, Michael, and Andy is going to be on. Andy is going to be on as a guest. Our next episode.
All right.
Episode 8, Blue Comet. We're going to talk to Andy. We want to get to the bottom of Andy and see what's going on with him and in Andy Verderam's world.
Yeah.
All right?
Because I did that background check online. You could do that, search people and stuff. And there was a lot of stuff I didn't know that I want to go over. A lot. Yeah. A lot. Right. A lot of stuff, different identities, different, there's different names. Yeah,
who has been this guy?
He went under the name Arthur for a while, which may be his real name. I'm not sure.
Really?
And then there's Arthur Verderam Jr., which may be his real name, and then not Jr. Then Andrew. I don't know when that change happened.
He's got a bunch of kids all over the place. I think some of them does his work for him. I think that he's got like child labor laws against him.
We got to figure this out. I want to get honest with. We got to get honest with him.
So next episode, folks, you've heard us talk a lot about Andy. You saw him briefly on a
Arthur. I think it's Arthur.
Arthur Verderam. So we're gonna have Arthur Verderam, aka Andy, on our next episode. And let's get to the bottom of this nonsense.
Okay. Season 7, episode 7. Aired May 20th, 2007. We're getting to the end, folks. This is called Second Coming. written by Terry Winters, 18 of 19.
Very
Nominated for Best Script and won Best Script for the Writers Guild of America Awards, which is the awards, the Writers Union, writers for TV and film. The title comes from the poem by Yeats, that's called Second Coming. We will get into that later and talk about that poem and what it means to this episode.
Michael, very heavy episode.
Very heavy.
Great episode. Robert Isla, how he didn't get nominated for an Emmy, I don't know.
They must have submitted it. They just sometimes
wonderful.
they're a little harder on kids, I think. I don't know.
It's a popularity contest a lot, and I've talked about that. I'm not to diminish anyone who's won an Emmy, but I don't know how it goes. I don't know exactly. 1 year I remember, and I've talked about it, Desperate Housewives, 4 of the actresses are nominated for Best Actress. The next year, nothing. None of them. So what they...
Well, I don't know if it's I think it's more, not so much popularity contest. It's more like a wave. So there's a wave of interest in a show. Everyone kind of gets behind it and is hot on it, and then it goes. You know what I mean? There's, for whatever reason. Well, I guess it's kind of a popularity contest. Yeah. I just thought, boy, Robert came into his own, and I know he doesn't want to act anymore, but boy, is he good. Boy, I enjoyed this, and there's a lot of heavy stuff, and let's get into it. Here we go. See, the first scene, we got a pile of garbage is on the side of the road. I guess this is the asbestos. They still have nowhere to put it, correct? They have nowhere to put it, and you cut from this, seeing this asbestos on a dead end street in somebody's neighborhood. Cut to Tony sleeping peacefully in his mansion. So to me, the point's being made there, and now we're getting to the end of this series. That's poison that he is putting out into the world so he can continue to make a profit and live this lifestyle. That's what that cut represents. You're going from here's the result and here's what he gets out of it. Sleeping peacefully. Cut to the son not sleeping peacefully. It's almost like that. Those three cuts, those three shots are kind of expressing like the sins of the father being passed down. You know what I mean? That's that's just kind of what I felt, what they were trying to say in the story.
Gotcha. Tony's sleeping. AJ wakes up. He puts the radio on, loud music. Tony wakes up, goes downstairs. Carmela's opening a package. Oh, I got a mysterious package, postmarked Las Vegas. What could it be? It's a very expensive watch.
About $2,000.
She just loves this. Loves it. Doesn't even blink an eye. Doesn't say, oh my gosh, you can't afford this. What are you doing? None of that. I had it engraved. Why did he buy the watch? Guilty?
Yeah, he was
went out there
screwing Sonia, Sophia. What was her name? Sophia?
Sonia. I don't know what it's for. He says, I'm sorry, I had to go to Vegas when I did. She said, well, once you explain, he had to take care of Christopher's business. God knows Kelly would need the money for the baby.
Which is all a lie. That. It's all fucking bullshit.
A complete lie. But he feels guilty somewhat about that. Somewhat. Will he take care of the family? Will he, right now, Kelly comes over for dinner a year or 2 or 3 from now. Will she be part of this family? Probably not. No,
and what Christopher said in The Many Saints in Newark, when I died, he gave my wife and kid his pocket change. He doesn't take care of them. He invites them for dinner, but we're not saying they're giving her money.
No. And Carmela just wants things. There's not enough for her. We talk about Tony. You can't feed the beast. He wants a bigger boat and a bigger this and a bigger that. She just wants.
Yeah.
How much jewelry you gonna fucking wear?
Yeah, I know. Materialistic. A funny little detail. He had it inscribed, "You are my life. Love, T." They couldn't fit Tony.
Yeah.
Kind of funny. Funny detail.
Yeah. old hospital. The crew loads out the garbage. Now, we shot this on Roosevelt Island.
That's Roosevelt Island, where, has a very strange history, that place. The Native Americans were there. The Lenape tribe were there. And at some point it was called Hog Island. Then it was called Welfare Island. There was an asylum there for mental patients. There was a smallpox hospital there. There was a prison, a workhouse prison there at one point.
I think some of it is still there.
There's some ruins of it there that they've kept. Yeah, of the first hospital or something like that. It's an interesting place. About 11,000 people live out there. It's only accessible either by ferry, by the tramway that goes over the East River, or by one bridge that you get, the Roosevelt Island Bridge, which you get over like in Astoria, Queens, and over there.
And there's a train that is right over there.
You know who lived there?
Who?
Grandpa Munster, Al Lewis, towards the end of his life.
Oh, really?
Yes, he was kind of like the mayor of Roosevelt Island for a while.
You sure it wasn't Tony Sirico?
It was not.
You sure
no.
it was Grandpa Munster?
I don't know if he had the wings back then. He used to live in the Village. He had that restaurant, Grandpa's, for a while on Bleecker Street.
Then he had a comedy club, I think, too.
He did. Yeah. Grandpa's was all mobbed up,
So Al Lewis was connected a little bit.
He was connected. The Grandpa's restaurant was mobbed up. He was just kind of the figurehead. There's a book called Bone in the Throat, which was a novel. I think it's the first book written by Anthony Bourdain. He wrote it before Kitchen Confidential. I think it was his first book.
I read it, yeah.
And he talks about, he doesn't mention it by name, but he's talking about a mobbed up restaurant in the Village, that's named after this famous TV character or something like that. And he's talking about that.
And, he also was big college basketball, high school basketball, college basketball, a scout.
Al Lewis from the Munsters?
Absolutely, positively. And his word meant a lot about recruits and going to what college. Oh, yeah. He might have even had a newsletter out. Al Lewis, for sure. An expert in college, high school basketball. Absolutely.
Interesting.
Yeah. Roosevelt Island kind of never took off. It's got a beautiful view of Manhattan, of course. The tram is on 59th Street, 60th Street. You go over, you go in the tram. It's kind of scary. I've done it years ago. I haven't done it in many years.
Well, there's that Stallone movie called Nighthawks that there's that scene on the tram there.
But, it kind of, the real estate's cheaper there, less expensive. But it never kind of.
I have a friend who has a condo there, loves living there. It's kind of you're close to the city, but you're not in the city. It's mellow.
I mean, you couldn't
quiet.
be closer. You're just across the East River.
No, and it's kind of quiet. It's kind of its own place. It's not crowded. There's not a lot of traffic. Some of those streets and little places you can't drive a car, so there's a lot of there's something very kind of peaceful about it. But my friend lives there for years, loves it.
You know who had a place there? Buddy Hackett.
On Roosevelt Island, really?
Absolutely. So when he passed away, his son Sandy sold it.
Really?
And I want to say they sold the condo. It was maybe a 2-bedroom for $600,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had a place there. Hey, listen, like you said, you were right there at the city. It's a short cab ride.
You could take the subway there, actually. Not also.
You take the subway
goes
also, yeah.
We shot Life on Mars out there, and we shot Lincoln Rhyme out there. That hospital. It was used in a lot of shoots. That hospital there. This one right here that they're talking about. So you show up with Anthony, played by our buddy Johnny C, to get the money. You're a little paranoid that these guys got asbestos on their hands. They're not wearing hazmat suits because they're non-union. So again, here is this poison that these guys have to deal with so Tony can make money and live in his mansion. You know what I mean? Risk their lives, basically.
Bobby's a little grumpy. He don't want to touch the money. The guy doesn't put it in an envelope. Bobby's not the old affable self. He's, don't want to touch the money. You don't have an envelope. A little grumpy here. Kind of like Steve, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bobby's
They started writing playing to your strengths, I think. That's what happened. They originally thought Bobby was this jolly, affable guy. And then they said, Steve is really bringing this grumpy, curmudgeon, malcontent. And let's go with that.
Let's go with that?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Dr. Vogel's office AJ's in therapy. He says, you must have seen fights before. He's upset. The last episode we saw these Jason and Jason beat up the African kid. Your friend's beating up the kid. Why do you think it's been impossible to shake? He says, they get had all the way with the shit with Blanca. They care about me. So the kids cared about him. He says, I know kids on Lexapro who say it's great and I still feel like shit. So he's very depressed still.
Very depressed. He said, did you try to stop it? He goes, I'm one individual. What could I do?
Well, it's true. What could he have done?
He could have said, don't do that.
Yeah, but they wouldn't have stopped. These are punk animals. I'll be honest.
Yeah,
I don't blame him for that. I don't blame him for that.
Well, he was scared to ask them to stop.
You have your kids sitting writing about your experience with the Somali boy. Come on, let's stop with that nonsense. He says that, with class, the Israeli-Pakistani class, it's interesting but depressing. English is boring. It talks about his family. Materialistic. Talks about people in the Minnesota in malls eating
the Mall of America. He saw something on TV. Kids in an Iraqi hospital in the burn unit. They don't have proper care. And then he saw fat people in the mall in Minnesota buying stuff and eating shit, which is exactly what we see in this episode. Tony buying stuff. You see them eating stuff. And he talks about the coffee maker, the media room, and then Blanca, her kid doesn't talk. They don't have decent schools, and this is a theme of the show. And especially this last season, we see more of this. You know what I mean? And it's very clear in this episode what the points that are being made, I think, about the American dream. That's the Mall of America in Minnesota that he's referring to.
AJ, though, at one point enjoyed all of this. The trappings, living in this mansion,
sure,
or getting every single thing you want all the time, beautiful car, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And he took a turn. Now he's resenting all this, which happens. This happens. It's
also, I think, in terms of the themes of the show, it's kind of like it's very necessary to show the contrast between, to really drive home what Tony Soprano's about.
Yeah. Bookstore back room. Silvio reads how to clean practically anything, which is a funny detail because Silvio's always tinkering, doing something.
He's always tinkering, but then part of me, when I saw that, because I watched it this morning, thinking, is it referring to Tony almost? How to clean, clean the poison, the evil. Mr. Postman by the Marvelettes playing on the soundtrack. The Beatles did a good version of that song on the Beatles' second album. But yeah, he's always tinkering with little projects. It's kind of funny that he's reading that book. Welcome back. Everybody's welcoming him back from Vegas. He had a blast. He had to do business for Chris. There's a photo on the wall of Christopher sitting by the video monitor on the set of Cleaver with headphones, a script in his hand, and a baseball hat turned backwards. Tony, I don't know. He sees that. He doesn't really comment on it. He's just...
Did you take that picture after they killed you? You remember?
I have no idea.
Little Carmine, it says it was taken on the Cleaver set, right? Then Anthony and Bobby arrive. Tony's saying we did peyote. Bobby says, really? Carlo makes the stuffed mushroom joke. He had a whole platter. It's a little awkward, this conversation.
It's weird.
Silvio's going, really? You took it? Oh, yeah. Silvio, who's kind of the voice of reason. Tony says he had a blast in Vegas, completely lying about Christopher's business. Complete bullshit. His business was going there to fuck Christopher's friend, Sonia.
Well, I mean, I don't know if that's why I think he went first just to get away from everything.
Well, of course he did, but there was no business.
There was absolutely no business. He looked up this girl. He talks about the desert, the light, the sun came up, and then Silvio goes, Oh yeah, like he doesn't know.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what the fuck he's talking
He
about.
doesn't know what he's talking about. Doesn't really care, but he's got to seem interested.
And Tony, I think, is trying to really remember or almost re-experience this feeling he had in that moment when he says, I got it. I get it. I get it. Some feeling of wholeness or serenity or at oneness with the universe, but he kind of can't really touch it again. And he reaches for the wine right there. Like you notice he's really starting to drink a lot lately in these episodes. Like the other time he's drinking scotch in the morning when he first wakes up. Like he's really grabbing. In the last episode in the plane in Vegas, he's drinking all the time. He grabs wine because he's searching for something, and he's using wine to just kind of, I guess, numb out whatever the hell he's feeling.
There's a smile on his face when he's talking about the light. And when he's thinking back about what happened, the girl was beautiful. Then, of course, Paulie, the world revolves around Paulie. I got dosed with acid once back in '68. I was with your dad and them at the Copa. Stewardess put it in my drink. Jerry Vale started singing. I look over. Uncle June's got laser beams shooting out of his eyes. Jerry Vale, I told you that. He was at my wedding.
He was at. Did he sing at your wedding?
He did not sing.
I asked you.
He came as a guest of a guest. He was a guest of a guest.
Did he give you a gift?
No.
No gift.
No gift. Well, he was a guest. The guy he was with gave me a gift.
A nice gift?
I don't remember. So it couldn't have been that spectacular. But Jerry's son, Robert Vale, I like a lot. He's a sound guy, very technical. I've known him for years. I like Robert. And Jerry Vale, I also did something once with the Tonight Show with him. You know, people love Jerry Vale's voice. I mean, in that genre, Jerry Vale.
Yeah, my grandparents loved him.
Jerry Vale, Al Martino.
Jimmy Roselli.
Jimmy Roselli.
Yeah.
Julius LaRosa. For a while, Tony Bennett before he skyrocketed again. They were all kind of
those Italian crooners or whatever. Yeah.
Crooners that people loved, you know. He was very close to Sinatra, too, by the way. And I know Robin, who's a good man, doesn't like Pat Cooper either. He knows Pat Cooper.
But one of them got blackballed by Sinatra. That was Roselli?
That was Al Martino and Roselli. Al Martino because had a little beef because of The Godfather.
Al Martino played Johnny Fontaine in The Godfather.
And he was told not to do it because that was supposedly Sinatra.
Based on Sinatra, yeah.
And I think they had a problem. And Jimmy Roselli, who's from Hoboken, and the story goes, he has a great book, Making the Wise Guys Weep, it's called. A great, great, great book. And it's about Jimmy Roselli, and he was up there with these guys, and story goes, he kind of resented Sinatra forever, and he thought, he resented Frank Sinatra, thought he was better, got very bitter. Frank's mother asked him to do a charity.
She loved him. She loved his music, right?
Correct.
What's her name? Dolly?
And he refused, and I think was a little nasty about it. And he was relegated to like small clubs in Cleveland and Buffalo and Rochester. And they stopped playing his records, took him out of jukebox. I'm not saying it was Sinatra's fault, but this is what happened. And
he couldn't play Vegas.
He could not play Vegas. Now, this is in the 70s. He's selling 8-track tapes at the San Gennaro Feast out of the trunk of his car. Jimmy Roselli. Atlantic City opens up. He becomes the highest paid entertainer in Atlantic City.
Wow.
For years. Higher than Sinatra. He packed them in. The wise guys' wives and mothers loved him. And that's hence the book, Making the Wise Guys Weep. And there was a movie. Travolta was going to play Jimmy Roselli. And it was a great script, and it went away somewhere. Gus Van Sant was going to direct it. It's a really good story, kind of like a Raging Bull.
Yeah.
On that, it opens up. He's in a suite. He's in a suite at Caesar's Palace, and he's the king. Insisted on getting paid cash a lot. You know, he's still a lot of resentment even after the success.
Really?
Yeah. Kind of a sore winner. type, Soprano house. Tony and Carmela having dinner with Kelly. Kelly says, I used to love the house, but now it's so big, especially at night. He said, if you're afraid, you know what to do. 2 minutes, I'll be over there.
I find this so fucked up and sick. It really, I'm going to say this probably a lot in the next few episodes. We're really dealing with, we've seen the evil. We've seen him do this. We've seen him do that. It's all coming out. There's no escaping it anymore. This is a sick fucking guy. To say that in front of this baby to the guy's wife. All you got to do, I'll come over. This is the man who killed her husband. It's so fucking twisted.
But listen, they're all twisted.
They're all twisted, but it's reaching a very bizarre. It's reaching a very but this is. In terms of the characters in the show, it's very different. It's gone to another level.
He's having a steak.
Steak pizzaiolo, which I never liked. My grandmother used to make it. I never liked it.
What's that, with the sauce?
It's steak with tomato sauce.
Tomato sauce, yeah.
And usually you use like a kind of a not expensive cut of beef for it.
Yeah.
And it was always tough. I never liked that.
It's like, you ever go places years ago? I don't see it around much. A pizza burger.
Pizza burger.
Burger, a hamburger with sauce and mozzarella.
Usually they didn't put mozzarella on the steak of pizzaiolo, just the without cheese. But it was never my thing.
So having a steak, Carmela babies him, and I know she feels bad for him. She's trying to be a good mom. I made your favorite steak pizzaiolo. He doesn't want to sit down. He says, they spray a virus on beef rather than clean the rat shit. The FDA, they approved the virus spray, which is disgustingly to think about it, and I'm sure it's true.
Well, look, it's illegal to film inside a slaughterhouse. Now, it's illegal because obviously the powers that be influenced whoever made those laws to benefit them, because if you saw what went on in the slaughterhouse, lots of people would stop eating meat.
Well, it happens a lot. And same thing with chickens. They had documentaries about chickens, and my wife won't eat chicken anymore.
Yeah, because it's fucking disgusting.
Yeah, absolutely.
People always ask me, you're vegetarian, is it your health? But it's not my health at all. I just don't like the killing. You know what I mean? I just don't.
I understand.
That's my thing. It has nothing to do with health. Mental health, maybe.
I understand. Although I don't agree with the fish thing, but come on.
You don't agree with what? You think fish are like plants? They don't have feelings or anything like that?
Feelings. They're there for us to eat fish.
Maybe what makes you so?
Maybe not a pig.
First of all, they were probably there before us.
Yeah.
We probably came after the fish because we came out of the ocean, apparently, at some point.
Wait, who said that we came out of the ocean?
Darwin?
Yeah,
Darwin's theory of evolution.
Evolution?
Life started in the ocean. Life started in the oceans. We didn't walk out, but like some kind of amphibian.
What about Adam and Eve? What about that thing?
Do you really believe in Adam and Eve?
I don't know what I believe.
So Adam and Eve had two sons who went on to have kids. So who did they have kids with?
I don't know.
Yeah,
I really didn't give it much thought.
It's a good question. Yeah.
Okay, but I get you with the meat there, right? I don't eat much meat, but I get it. It must be a good thing then. All right, look. Cody says it must be good. Okay, that's enough. We're trying to eat here. You're upsetting people that have been through a tragedy.
He's talking about that. He killed a fucking woman's husband. We're trying to eat here. It's hilarious. I mean, it's just so sick and twisted.
Fine, bury your head in the sand. How about I bury yours in the fucking wall instead? For 20 years, he won't crack a book. All of a sudden, he's world's foremost authority. And Carmelo says at least he's getting an education. There's some parents, the kids could do no wrong, you know, and it hurts them in the long run. There's one thing about sticking up for your kid, but there's another thing like tell the kid to shut up. They are eating. You have your views. You don't want to eat meat. Don't eat meat. You know what I mean? I get it. I don't bug you about eating or not eating meat. You don't bug me. You know,
Right.
literature class. AJ sits in class. Professor Klein reads to the class.
So she's reading from The Second Coming, which is a poem by Yeats, and it's he wrote it in 1919, just after the First World War, during the time of the Spanish flu epidemic. And, you know, it's kind of this apocalyptic vision of, you know, I think what he felt the world was coming to after a war of such death and such destruction. It's a very famous poem. Some of the quotes: "The center cannot hold, the falcon cannot hear the falcon," are two lines that Melfi used and said to Tony back in the episode Cold Cuts. It's really about evil coming home to roost. No, you know, like Revelation, the book of Revelations, and like the rapture or the apocalypse and stuff, and that evil coming home to roost. What we're talking about in this episode with Tony Soprano, we'll see that later on at the pool. A famous quote from this poem: "The best lack all conviction, the worst are full of passionate intensity." Lou Reed actually says that before Sweet Jane on the live album Take No Prisoners, which is my favorite Lou Reed record. "What rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches towards Bethlehem to be born." Slouching Towards Bethlehem is a famous book by Joan Didion. Rough beast, the end of the pilot of The Sopranos, Nick Lowe song comes on and closes the pilot, "The Beast in Me." And the cut, "What rough beast, its hour come round at last, slouches toward Bethlehem to be born," cuts to Tony, kind of like slouching, walking out of the pork store kitchen into the front room. It's a very interesting cut. And it's a handheld shot of Tony, very kind of slouchy and kind of sloppy. It's very clear the points being made here. At least I feel that.
Pork store. Tony meets with Agent Harris. Agent Goddard. Tony says, "You don't look so good." He says he still has that. What do you have? A parasite.
A microbe,
Pakistan. We'd like to show you some pictures. He shows the pictures of Ahmad and Muhammad. And that's them. What the fuck? What? We don't know. Financing, maybe. I'm not even sure we still have them in the country. So he's saying that these two guys that hung around the Bing, that were friendly with Christopher.
Well, they were working with them. They were doing credit card scams with the family.
These guys were making money from the Sopranos and financing possibly terrorist actions.
Again, evil coming home to roost of Tony Soprano and his empire and stuff like that. And a weird shot when they go outside. The camera goes outside. They move. It cuts to a shot from outside, looking towards Tony inside, and it's a weird shot. Like he's alone. He's kind of isolated. It's dark. It's sloppy. There's something very disturbing and disorienting about that shot.
Next time we'll have party hats. We're in the Verna Social Club. Bobby, Silvio, Tony meet with Phil, Albie, Butch, and Coco. Albie is played by Dominic Chianese. Is that Albie? But Dominic Chianese Jr. is in this scene.
Yeah, Albie is Cha-Cha, John Cha-Cha. Yeah. Cha-Cha was famous, the mayor of Mulberry Street. He had Cha-Cha's Cafe down on Mulberry Canal Street. He was a good guy, a well-liked guy, had a lot of friends.
Good guy. A lot of fun, funny guy.
We miss him.
Coco's played by Armand Garrow. Armand Garrow, who's a good guy also. He's great in this.
Good actor in this episode. I liked what he did a lot.
Yes.
He makes it very specific and memorable, the character Coco.
For sure.
Without a doubt.
And Phil and Butch, those two guys, unfortunately, have passed away. Tony, good news. The condos at the Navy are. Paulie's guy at the Joint Fitter says they're breaking ground. And then he says, listen, the thing with the asbestos. Thought about you off, what do you say, 15%? Plus, we forget about the balance of what you owe me on the vitamin truck, which goes back to the feast. Remember that?
Right. Exactly.
The vitamins. And he says it wasn't an offer. It's my position. Tony says I came here with in good faith, reasonable counter. And Phil's not having any of it. None of it. He's
Oh,
got
no,
a
he's
hard
drawn
on
a-
here.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
that. There's none of this going on. And Tony says, remember when you were sick in the hospital? You shared an understanding about life. He said, this is business.
You think he's got a hard on? Because we spoke about that, Phil, with his, repressed sexuality.
I don't think he's got a hard on like that.
No, you
but
just said it.
He's got a hard on metaphorically.
Oh, metaphorically. Okay.
But he also says here, he's saying, come on, what? No compromise, no leeway. You want compromise? How's this? 20 years in the can. I want them on a good. I compromise. I ate grilled cheese off the radiator. I wanted to fuck a woman, but I compromised. I jacked off in the tissue. You see where I'm going?
He also humiliates him, makes a joke at his expense in front of everybody. Everybody laughs at him. I mean, he's just done. He doesn't give a fuck.
No,
he's just drawn a line, hard line, and he's like, he basically wants to take over the Jersey family. That's how I see it. He thinks they're piddling comparison to New York, and that he's kind of just taking the position, I did my time. I got nothing to lose anymore. We're just going to fucking take over.
He says
that's what I see.
Budging. He makes the joke with Kelly, get my flowers. I won't expect a thank you anytime soon. It was someone close to you. It takes long to process. Talking about his brother Billy. That's what he's talking about here. He's got a hard on for Tony Soprano because Billy got killed. He never got to kill him.
Never got killed, Tony B.
Correct.
As revenge.
Right. Correct. And not that would have settled everything, but it would have been some satisfaction.
Some kind of revenge satisfaction. He felt he got off too easy.
Construction site. Butch and Coco go up to Edgar. He says, didn't anybody call you? The checks are late. There aren't checks. Silvio, Sopranos guys came by. Pull your jobs. Fuck that. I don't get it. And then they continue to beat the shit out of Edgar, who's got nothing to do with this. I mean, he's just following orders. They've certainly taken it out of the wrong guy. Then he goes into his pocket, and they give him a beating bad. They take $320 out, and Coco says, Tony Soprano owes you $320. Another heavy scene here. Robert is great. Robert Eiler.
The song is Into the Ocean by the band Blue October, and the lyrics are very, very much about what's going to happen later in this episode. Sinking to the bottom, into the ocean, talking about ending it all. It's very much where we're going with AJ.
This is a very heavy, complicated episode.
Yeah, it really is.
With very heavy conversations.
Yes.
Tony and Phil, Meadow and AJ, the doctor, Melfi, Kuffelberg. There's a lot going on here.
There's a lot going on.
A lot of heavy stuff. The poem.
And then the stuff with Carmela and Tony later on when they're blaming each other, that stuff, that's all
heavy
rough,
stuff.
Heavy.
Man. AJ's room. How was your exam? I didn't take it. Why didn't you take the test? I dropped out. I'm your sister. You have to talk to me. Is this still about Blanca? She says, when I broke up with Finn, I cried every day for a month. He says, I don't know anymore. He doesn't even know what he's depressed about. He's depressed about everything. He's a mess, this poor kid. They mentioned Borat, which he doesn't make me laugh. I like Ali G. I like what he did with Ali G. But Borat.
The first one was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I thought Borat
Jim
was
liked
funny.
it. I remember Jim asking me if I saw it.
I liked the first one. I thought it was pretty funny. And then she says, why don't you move out? And he says, in my condition, I'm ill. I'm on medication. I need mom's cooking for my blood chemistry, which is just ridiculous. Yeah.
So he's going to be one of them guys. We all know those guys that live with their mother for the rest of their life. You ever have those guys in the neighborhood? They wear a bathrobe. They got white socks like sandals. They go get the mail. They're looking for their disability check. I swear to God, growing up in Brooklyn, there was a million of these guys. They got their check, whatever, $700-800 a month. They live with their mother. The mother owned the house. And that was that. She cooked for them, did his laundry, and that's the end of that.
And they don't work.
Don't work.
Yeah.
Collected disability, fake disability, usually bad back, bad knee, and there you have it.
And she says, we're Italian, you're the son, you'll always be more important, which I'll be honest, I don't really see in that dynamic in the family. I don't in the Soprano family. Do you?
No. They're both treated very nicely.
Yeah, she
I
just
don't
happens
see-
to be more, kind of motivated and
I
a better
don't
student.
I don't see a favorite here. I really don't. And some families, there are favorites. Let's not kid ourselves. There's some parents like kids better than others. Not me, but there are some.
I guess I don't know.
I think in
wouldn't
my
know.
family there was favorites for sure.
You were the favorite.
And I wasn't fucking one of them. How's that? There was 5 of us, and I wasn't number 1 or 2 on the fucking list.
That explains a lot, actually.
I'm just gonna leave it there.
I didn't know that. Now it really kind of clears up a lot of things. You go to the kitchen. She's making Lincoln log sandwiches. Have you ever had that?
No, and I never will.
It looks absolutely disgusting.
Awful. Cream cheese. I love cream cheese.
On a bagel.
I love cream cheese.
I like it in celery. Do you like that? Cream
Yeah.
cheese and celery? That's good.
I like peanut butter and celery also.
Yeah, me too.
I love cream cheese. I told you this before on the podcast. One of the greatest sandwiches ever is a salted bagel with chunky peanut butter and a little bit of strawberry jam. Little bit. Trust me on this.
You never told me that ever.
Trust me on this.
I'm going to try it.
Have I ever steered you down the wrong path? Ever. In 20-something years.
I'm going to try it because it actually sounds pretty delicious.
Cream cheese. I love hot dogs.
Do you like scallion cream cheese on a bagel?
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. Listen, I love hot dogs. I love cream cheese. I don't like them together at all. And it looks disgusting.
It looks gross.
Yeah. She says, I made you Lincoln Log. She has that sing-songy voice like she's talking to a 7-year-old. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I made you Lincoln Logs, I'm a meeting for, Gab for lunch. She has no idea. She says, we're stopping at Nordstrom's, going shopping. Materialistic. What is she going to do at Nordstrom? Very expensive store.
Grab lunch and go to Nordstrom, which is exactly what AJ was talking about, people eating and buying shit. This is going to the mall. Nordstrom's probably in the mall somewhere. It's exactly what he was talking about. And then we see the shot of the pool covered. It's autumn, late. It looks like late autumn. The pool's covered. It's closed, and it looks, kind of cold outside.
Let me ask you something. Do you ever, and I know women do it more than guys, but I never just go out and say, I'm going to go to the store and I'm going to go to, Nordstrom's or whatever, Barney's or one of these department stores. I'm just going to look around, see what I can buy. I never do that, ever.
Sometimes when I'm in on location somewhere, I'll go to like a mall just
Well,
to
you're bored. You're bored.
Yeah.
But that's different. That's different. You're trying to kill time. I just never, like if I need a jacket, I need a shirt, I got to go to this event, I need a new tie, I need a belt, I'm going to go to the fucking place and buy it.
Yeah, I'm more like that. I need it, I go get it. If I don't need it, yeah.
I need a new pair of shoes, I'm going to get a new pair of shoes.
I do go to bookstores a lot.
Yeah, well, that's different.
That's different.
I'm a bookstore guy.
And record stores.
Yeah. Well, I'm not a record store guy, but get what I'm saying? I'm not, well, let's just go walk around and I'm going to buy something, whether I need it or not. And I probably don't need it.
Yeah, I understand.
They need and want,
Need and want are two different things, aren't
they? The pool, and they probably shot this since this was episode 7, right? I would say they shot this in November or December.
But they probably heated the water.
I would hope so.
Yeah, I'm sure they did.
I sure would hope so. Robert is
now
so good.
remember, this whole show starts with the pool and the ducks and the family and Tony having a panic attack, seeing about the ducks and relating it to his family and kids and stuff like that. Again, the chicken's coming home to roost. The evil kind of coming to fruition. Here it is.
But
no better example.
Let me ask you this. But when David was writing the ducks for the pilot, did he know he was going to revisit it?
But not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
But what I'm saying is,
listen, I agree with you. I'm just saying.
I think these things develop over time. They develop, like he has an idea this is about the it's about a mobster and his mother, but it's also about America. And he didn't know we were going to do a season. He thought maybe the pilot would just go and get canceled. Then you start doing season 1 and you start to see how these themes can start to play out. Then you start breaking down this last season and you realize, what do I want to say with this last season? How does it relate to the themes I've laid out? Gotcha. It's making connections,
Yeah. So AJ sits on the diving board. I got to tell you, Robert is so good here. He made me want to cry.
Fantastic. I mean, what a scene he does.
It broke my heart.
It's really incredible.
The thing is, and I don't want to get into suicide. I don't want to deal with that. But the way he did this, it took a lot of planning. It wasn't
he did some research on it.
Absolutely. You didn't get a gun. You saw the gun. Boom. I got a bottle of pills. Fuck all this. You're depressed. Boom. You know what I mean? It wasn't done that way. He had to get the cinder block. He had to get the rope. He had to get the plastic bag. He had to get the rubber band. So there was planning.
Then he had to open the pool up.
Had to open the pool. Exactly.
It wasn't just a drastic kind of in the heat of the passion. Impulse. It was very calculated. Yes, you're right.
He throws the cinder block in. He falls into the water. He comes to the surface. The rope was too long. Now, was that done purposely, like Melfi suggests later? Or what, did he miscalculate the rope? I don't know. It looked to me like he was looking to seriously kill himself.
Well, did he know Tony was coming home with that? Tony doesn't really keep regular hours, so that's kind of hard to predict. It doesn't indicate. It seems like he wanted to do it, and then as soon as he did it, he realized he didn't want to do it.
Yeah,
because also drowning is very, I mean, it's not like just taking pills and drinking booze and going to sleep.
Going to sleep, yeah. I told you that. I told you that with my mother. When I was a kid, right? I was about 12. I was home alone on a summer day with my mother. She found out about the Gumaras, the kids, and then she sent me.
How old were you?
11.
She had no knowledge of this whole thing.
She had no knowledge. So
how did she find out?
I guess my father fessed up on the phone, and she's like almost fainting. Calms down, goes to bed, sends me to the liquor store, which you didn't even have to cross the street. But back then, they would sell liquor. They knew me. The guy's name was Mike.
You said it's for your mother.
Liquor store right on Bath Avenue. She said, "Get me 2 bottles of white wine." I went there. Unbeknownst to me, she drank the wine, must have taken pills. Next thing
bottles?
I know, no, she didn't finish the bottle. And then next thing you know, my father's coming in. I don't know where he came out of nowhere. I guess he knew she was distraught. She's got a lit cigarette in her hand, and she took pills, tried to kill herself. Called the ambulance. Had to pump her stomach. Very calculating is my point. Very calculating. Sent me. She had time to call it off. Sent me to the liquor store to go get I said it's for my mother, She sent me to the liquor store. Did all that. True. 1,000% true story.
Wow.
So that, very calculating. Like this is, like I said, this wasn't an impulse, which I'm sure happens. You're depressed.
Of course.
Okay. Tony comes home. At first, he's not sure. He's saying, "What the fuck did you do?" Blah, blah, blah. Pulls him out. AJ, hysterical. Gets him out of the pool. He is just hysterical.
It's heartbreaking. And Robert just nails that scene.
So good. Jim is so good. Got him cradling him. It's okay, baby. You're all right. Really, really, really heartbreaking. The hospital, AJ sits in a wheelchair. He looks bad. He's out of it. They said he's on Valium. It's very sad for the family. This is a nice family. I mean, they really care for each other, the 4 of them. You know what I mean?
Nice family. I mean, the guy's the murderer. The guy murdered his nephew.
But wait a minute. I'm talking about the family-wise. I know they're all fucking murders. So he murdered. If you want to go down that route, Michael, his nephew was a fucking murderer also. So
Sure.
a murderer killed a murderer. I'm saying, when I say a nice family, they care for each other. We can't analyze every single one of these guys is a murderer, including Bobby, who's the nicest guy. He's a murderer. Janice is a murderer. I mean, who's not a murderer? Ginny Sack?
No, but I don't know if it's a nice family. I don't know if it's ever been a nice family. He's, he has girlfriends, hooers, whatever.
So that's
does.
Tony. I just think, they care for each other. Is my point. Just
I thought Edie was amazing in this moment here. She said, You warned us to Jamie. Jamie's really solid, as is Jim. And in the last scene, when he pulls him out of the water, Jim is amazing in that scene. Just beautiful. And but everybody in this moment in the hospital, it's not a big moment. It's very touching though, because you're right, they do care for each other.
That's what I'm talking about. When I say
she's like totally Carmela's totally devastated as like he was always so happy,
Listen, as we talked about with Aida earlier. I mean, we like these people. We root for these people. They're bad people. They don't just hurt each other. I've said this for years. They hurt innocent people.
Yeah, sure.
Bada bing back room. Silvio's at the desk. Paulie, Patsy, Carlo, Bobby are playing pool.
They all know, obviously.
I suck at pool. I don't know how I hit that shot. Bobby gets the ball in the hole, and he calls, he said something to Paul. He calls them white walls. How's that, white walls? They're obviously playing for money. He says to Paul, he calls Paulie white.
That's the hair, yeah.
Tony comes in. All right, let's dispense with the 500-pound elephant. My kid tried to off himself. The guys, of course, all know. How's he doing, Tone? He's under observation, whatever that means. And then
Silvio can't deal with this stuff. You notice like the other guys are a little better. Even Paulie's a little better with dealing with some of this uncomfortable personal stuff. Sil's not good with it.
No.
No, and you think it's kind of consistent. You think about it, he's never really good with that stuff. He's much more just pragmatic and like kind of cut off a little bit emotionally that way.
It's very awkward. And, they're all trying to make him feel better. Don't blame yourself, T. My daughter had a bout with anorexia or whatever she says. And then Carlos says something stupid. And Patsy says the one kid's a moody prick. And the other guy is this. Carlo makes no sense, which most of the time when he talks, he doesn't. Carlo talks about his kid. He gets the blues. Paulie says it's all these toxins they're exposed to. It fucks with their brains, the mercury in the fish alone. It's a wonder. And then he asks him, you want me to send the kid to get your Baja Fresh?
Right, instead of Baja. Baja Fresh, yeah.
Do they have Baja Fresh in New York? I don't know.
I know they have in California. I don't know about New York.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It's Mexican fresh. They say that they don't have a microwave. The food is cooked fresh.
That's good.
In Baja. You must like that. It's a lot of vegetarian stuff.
I like Mexican food a lot.
My wife made me stuffed peppers last night. So good.
You mean like Mexican style, like chili relleno?
No.
I love chili relleno when it's done right.
The big stuffed peppers, and it was, she doesn't eat any meat. It was cauliflower. It was rice. It was beans. It was so good that I can't even tell you.
Like a green pepper?
Yeah, green pepper. One was green, one was red.
Stuffed and cooked in the oven.
Yeah, with some cheese on top.
Nice. There you go.
Really good. Really good. And this is all awkward. These guys are trying to bullshit, trying to make them feel better, which they're not. They're trying to cheer them up like their kids got problems. It doesn't help, but it doesn't compare. The kids don't have these problems. Carmela looks out at the pool. Tony comes in the kitchen. I can't fucking shake it. I'm depressed. And she is not having it.
This is a great scene. Really well written and incredibly acted by Jim and Edie. She brings up the Soprano curse and says, he didn't get it from my family.
Yeah.
Which is a very vicious thing to say, you know. Really vicious, really a low blow. And he talks about Hugh. Hugh's all bottled up. And she says, what are you talking about? Johnny Soprano put a bullet through my mother's hair. And then that really pisses him off. He didn't like it when that was brought up, in an early episode, and he doesn't like hearing it now. And then he quotes Livia, poor you. This scene is handheld. And there's a couple of handheld scenes in this episode, which again were not typical for the show. It's just creating this very uncomfortable, off-kilter sensation. She says, you've been playing the depression card. Yeah. Wow.
And he goes, card. She says, I heard all about your father and your great-grandfather and your uncle and the card in Avellino. Or like she heard all the bullshit. She doesn't care about it anymore. She is pissed off. She's blaming Tony for all of this and for everything. She's
blaming him also. She says, you have no idea how hard it is to live with someone who's constantly complaining.
That's what my wife must think too.
Yeah. I know exactly what she's saying.
Yeah, she didn't. She didn't mention that, but she hasn't watched the show in a while.
And he says, "Fuck you."
Yeah, and she takes the watch off right away and throws
it at him, and he just throws it against the wall and probably breaks it.
She blames him, and I don't know. Is she completely right about blaming him? Is it really?
I think it's a low blow.
Yeah.
No, it's not anybody's fault.
No.
Whose fault is it? What? Because he's, listen, just because Tony has depression doesn't mean that's where he gets it from. It could just be environmental. It could be some kind of condition that is developed.
But is it hereditary?
I'm not really sure. Maybe there's tendencies. I think certain mental illnesses can be hereditary. I think genetic, like schizophrenia or bipolar, stuff like that. Maybe. I'm not an expert on this. I'm not sure. But even if it is, it's not his fault. It's nothing he could have done about it. Why would you blame someone for that? You know what I mean?
Listen, we know about AJ way back when he had the panic attacks on the football field when he fainted. So this is going way back. It's just manifested here now, right?
Sure.
The breakup with Blanca really triggered it.
Sent him over the edge, into real
it really triggered it. He was doing okay, and that really triggered it. I'll be honest.
That, and then being witness to some really disgusting racism and violence.
Yeah.
And just seeing that. And again, it's like, these are guys that are sons of his dad's crew members. It's a lot of it is all the results of being in the Soprano family. I don't mean the blood family. I mean the crime family as well.
Melfi's office, it could have been a cry for help. On some level, he may have known the rope was too long to keep him submerged. Or he could have just been a fucking idiot. Historically, that's been the case. And then he brings it back to himself. Me and Carmela were getting along so good. Now, because AJ tried to kill himself, they're arguing. My father in his panic attacks, a fucking demented uncle, and he mentions Eckley. The famous Eckley.
Do you remember there is an episode where they show a picture of Eckley, right?
I don't remember that.
And I remember seeing it. Now, maybe it wasn't in an episode. Maybe they just used it in the awards.
Yeah.
The Eckley Awards.
Yeah,
it was Junior. They used Dominic.
Yeah.
And they did some kind of Photoshop.
It's very.
I think it was less hair. I think it was absolutely no hair, not even on the sides. It's actually very hilarious. And it must have been from the awards, not the actual series.
The Eckley Awards were kind of bloopers, very funny award show, a fake award show that when we went out for the Emmy Awards.
The night before the Emmys, we'd go to.
And it was laugh out loud.
Brad Gray, the producer of Sopranos, we would go out to his house in, where was that? Brentwood or something like that? Or?
I don't know, but it was, Brad was a nice guy. He passed away way too young. And we had he threw some beautiful parties at that house, and it was really just us. But I mean, one year I remember, they had band and DJ, they had bocce courts and all kinds of stuff. Then we sang karaoke the one year. Me, Jim, Tony, we sang "I Got You, Babe," and the food was incredible. And Bernie Brillstein, as a legendary manager, he was there.
And then we'd have the awards. So it would be stuff like, we talk about it in the book. Our book, Woke Up This Morning, the best acting with a telephone. And then it would cut to like Jim smashing a telephone. And it would cut to some crazy movie from the 30s that Terry Winter found. And it would be a clip of some guy doing something crazy with a telephone. And the winner would always be the guy from The Sopranos or the woman from The Sopranos. But it was just really fun. And it took a lot of work. Terry talked about that. A lot of editing, a lot of like searching for material, both from the show and from archival stuff from other TV shows and movies and clippings and shit. It was a lot of fun.
And we have we've showed it on the show before, the cue ball. That's the award.
Yeah.
Do you have it
mine
around?
here? Yeah, I got it.
Get your Eckley. Are you more proud of that or your Emmy? There you go.
I have 3, Steve.
Yeah. Are you more proud of that or your Emmy award? Wow.
I'm a 3-time
there you go, the
Eckel
hat trick.
Award winner. The hat trick. Yeah.
I have one somewhere.
I'm like the Katharine Hepburn of the Eckel Awards. Yeah.
Is that
This is my pride and joy. This is the first annual Eckel Award, September 9th, 2000.
Better than the Webby.
Oh, way better than the Webby. Yeah, way better.
You think there are reasons your son is so unhappy. He says, I'm not taking a rap, not completely. She coddled him. His mother coddled him. I said it before. I'm sure that made him into the man he is today. He's being sarcastic. Are you ashamed of him? Yeah. Actually, I am. The coward's way out. Isn't that what they call it? I think whoever said that didn't understand depression. AJ had the world by the balls, when he says. He hits one pothole and he goes into hysterics.
Yeah. Again, Tony's like ignoring the fact that, listen, you're out there killing people, robbing people, beating people, or benefiting from all these things. You can compartmentalize it and think, that's just this. I'm coming home to raise a family. But life doesn't work that way. Karma doesn't work that way. It's like you can't separate everything, whatever that is energetically somehow on some kind of, subconscious, mental level, energetic level. You're bringing that into your home. That's part of who Tony Soprano is. That's part of what he brings to his kids.
Yeah, but I think those old wise guys, they did, the real guys.
I don't know what they did.
Old-time wise guys, they did what they did and came home, lived a completely different life. It was never talked about, the mob. None of that was ever mentioned. It was kind of like they went off to a factory job, which included killing people.
Yeah, but that, how do we know that didn't affect their family, their kids psychologically? We
don't know. Carmela visits AJ with his dad. Meadow got rear-ended on Bloomfield Avenue. He'll come see you later. Is he mad? He was never mad. How long do I have to stay here? She says, I'll bring you chicken parm. She says, you're not allowed on account of the bulimic girls. Said that the turkey had no taste at all. Cafe Roma, which is on.
Well, but did you notice what was on TV there?
No.
Joey.
Oh.
Now, why is that interesting? But why is that interesting?
Well, because Drea Di Matteo.
Drea, who was murdered at the behest of Tony Soprano, again, making that point. You can't separate the fact that you're killing people, your friends and relatives, and you know what I mean? It's affecting the family. It's affecting AJ directly. That poison in the dynamic of the relationships. I think that's what they're saying there.
I did an episode of Joey.
What did you play?
I played a pit boss in Vegas.
And who was in the scene with you?
Joey. I don't know if I was with. I don't think Dre was in. I think Joey and I don't know. I don't remember. It was quite a while ago.
Matt LeBlanc.
Yeah, Matt LeBlanc. Good guy. Funny
Very
guy.
nice guy. I like him a lot.
Hey,
Yeah.
he's good at what he does. Believe me. Really
Very
good.
successful.
And his next show episodes was really good. Have you seen that?
He
would like
works.
that.
Yeah,
It's
he's
about
not doing,
writers.
He's not doing podcasts. He's doing, series
Real
after
work.
series.
Real work. Yeah, well, his ex-castmate, Matthew Perry, what's he doing?
Matthew Perry? I don't know. What is he doing?
I don't know what the fuck he does. Walks around aimlessly.
What do I do? I don't know what I do.
What
I
do you
know
mean?
you do.
You're in a band. We do live shows.
I'm kidding.
You write music.
I'm kidding, Steve. I'm kidding.
You got all kinds of things going on. We're in Cafe Roma on Mulberry Street.
I like Cafe Roma. I did a photo shoot there like 2 years ago, but I go there once in a while. I like to have coffee there. I like to have cookies there. I like their sesame cookies.
It's a really good place. Anthony, I believe, is the owner.
That's an old school Little Italy joint. It's a good place.
It's a good place. Cafe Roma. Meadow has dinner with Patsy Parisi. Patrick Parisi. Patsy Parisi's son.
Right.
Coco
She's been
comes
keeping
over.
it secret from the family.
Yeah. Coco comes over to the table. You're Tony Soprano's kid. I'm sorry, do I know you? He touches her face. You got a little cream on your mouth, sweetie. Be happy to add to it.
Very out of line.
Way, he couldn't be more
Now,
out of line.
Do you think it's because he's drunk, or he just is making a point of wanting to intimidate Tony's daughter?
It doesn't matter if he's drunk or not. That does not matter.
Do you think he did it because he was drunk?
Well, he didn't seem that drunk to me.
She said she smelled Sambuca on his breath.
You know, what does that mean? He is so out of line. Cha-Cha pulls him away. Patrick Parisi says, is there a problem? He says, there's about to be. He is so out of line.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
He says, it must be fun tucking her in at night. Wow.
Yeah, really bad.
Meadow talks to Carmela in the kitchen. She says, don't say anything. She doesn't want to tell her dad. She knows what may happen.
She knows it's going to be a lot of trouble. She also reveals that she's been seeing Patrick. She reveals that she doesn't want to go to med school. She wants to go to law school. Patrick's been talking to her about the justice system and has inspired her to do the same.
Jim is great in this because at first he's just listening, and then you see him internally being livid, not on the outside. You see it in his eyes. You see it in his face. And he's going, oh, okay, he's just, no big deal. He's okay. He's an idiot, but he's harmless.
Just stupid. Yeah.
Oh, no. And then he leaves. He couldn't get out of there fast enough. He says he's got a meeting. She says Patrick has changed a lot because they didn't like Patrick.
For whatever reason, yeah. Did she say why?
I don't think they did. I thought Pat Parisi was engaged. They broke it off. I've decided not to go to med school. So they've known each other since they're kids.
Right. And he's a good student, obviously, and a smart kid. He's got he wants to be a lawyer. He doesn't seem like
Jason.
He's very different than Jackie Jr. He's not
And he's very different than Patsy Parisi's other son, who's one of those punks.
Exactly.
All right. Kupperberg's office. Murphy walks in, talking about Sheila resents me. I'm dating her father. Which patient of mine says that? Maybe I should put my shoe up her ass, she says. And she's mistaken. She says your favorite patient says that. And she's talking about, of course, Tony Soprano.
You notice he has that big water bottle in this mesh little bag, which Peter carried that. That was his thing. Peter had that all the time, personally, as Peter Bogdanovich. I think they just said use that for the character. Peter liked to drink a lot of water.
Well, that's fine, but the mesh thing gets me.
No, it's easier to carry.
Oh, okay. All right, there you go.
Did you like The Untouchables? Because he talks about his father was a fan
Yes,
of The Untouchables.
yes.
Now, Untouchables was a black and white TV show about the Chicago, mob and
The outfit, they called it.
the FBI, right?
Yes. And I worked with the guy that played Rico, Nick Giorgiotti, friend of mine.
Really?
Still lives in Vegas. He played Rico, and we worked together. He was
in the
host.
series, not the movie.
No, in the series.
And it was Elliot Ness was the main law enforcement guy that was played by Robert Stack, right?
Correct. And Rico was one of his guys. And he was on the series the entire time, I believe.
Oh.
And he's a host. He's in his 80s. A great guy. Great guy. Did a lot of other work, but that was his main thing. Him and Telly Savalas were best friends, both Greeks, Yeah, Nick worked with me. It's funny he wound up there. And then he's talking about Elliot Ness. I don't know. Is Kupferberg a good therapist? I don't know.
Well, he's been inappropriate at times with her, with his interest in Tony Soprano.
Yeah.
And here he says, well, it's weird what happens here. Because he says, there's been studies that talk therapy with criminals, basically, with real, like, he's calling them sociopaths, but I guess it's more accurate to call them psychopaths, validates them and is useless and actually sharpens their skills as con men when, with therapy and therapists. And he kind of, he says, the reconviction rate is higher with people who actually went to therapy, psychopaths, criminals who went to therapy. And he says it kind of smirking. And he ends the scene with this almost smug victory, like, basically rubbing it in her face that she's basically wasted her whole, wasted her time with him for the past 6 years. Or 7 years, however long it's been.
Well, I mean, he's been very truthful, more than I would think at times, but he can't tell her everything.
No.
Just can't tell her everything,
No, but he's saying it doesn't matter that he's in therapy, that he could, someone like him is going to use therapy to further his evil ways
I don't know about
than to recover. That's what he's saying to her, though.
Yeah, I hear you. John's Italian Restaurant. What is that, 2nd Avenue?
That's
John's?
12th Street,
And
2nd
First.
Avenue.
Yeah.
It's a very old place. Now they serve a lot of vegetarian and vegan stuff. It's kind of a weird menu. It's not the original family, I don't think, that's owned it, but it's been there forever.
Oh, it was great. I was there a bunch of times.
Have you been there lately?
No.
Because they have a whole huge vegetarian stuff.
I haven't been there in years and years. It was cash only at the time.
It still looks like, like it's 100 years old in the inside. Like everything's like original. The tiles and the,
And when
it's
you
got
say
a real,
vegetarian, what do you, Italian vegetarian?
no, but weird, like fake meat and stuff like that. It's kind of weird for an Italian restaurant. Yeah. I went there. And the last time I was there, I had dinner with Martin Rev of the band Suicide. One of the inventors of punk rock, basically, and electronic music, early New York punk era band, one of my favorites. And we had, for me, that was a big thrill to sit with him and talk about music with him, because I'm a big Suicide fan. He comes in, Tony. Now he uses the gun to hit him with, right? Is that what he's pistol whipping, brutally, just
A great scene.
great, very, very disturbing.
This
Really
is the
well
kind
done.
of scene, though, that you're jumping out of your seat as a viewer, and you want him to beat this guy. You want him to kill him and Butch. You're jumping
bad
out of your
beating.
seat here.
Yeah,
Bad beating. Couldn't be worse when he does that, puts his face on the step and steps on it. What's he put it on? The step or the fountain?
the ledge of the bar.
Oh, it makes you cringe. And that Butch is a little prick.
Yeah,
He does a good job.
Greg
Antonucci. I mean, he is a little prick. He deserved. I would have liked to see Tony fucking kill him there. but that would have really blew up. But this is a big deal what Tony's doing here. But Tony's 1,000% right.
Right, because it's not just roughing him up; it's really, really damaging him. Maybe irreparably.
Yeah, this was bad. Dr. Vogel's office. They're having a family therapy session, and AJ's bringing up all this shit from the past. It's always what you think it is. It's never how I feel. And he's going, "Oh, poor you." He says it again. It's all your mother's fault, isn't it? You're a mama's boy. And he's bringing up the confirmation when he smoked weed. He says, what kind of an animal smokes marijuana at his own confirmation? Kind of a famous line on the show. When she caught them, I believe, in the basement. He was using illegal drugs in the home. Would you like to tell your parents what your grandmother said? Also, he talks about the second grade. She made him wear a dorky raincoat. He got beat up.
He says he was never secure expressing his feelings. A very big thing that happens here is Tony notices that one of Coco's teeth are in his, his cuff or his shoe or something like that. Again, I think the point being made here is that you can't separate these worlds. You can't, remember that episode in college when he sees that plaque, one man wearing two faces to the world and something like that. It's like, you can't do that. There's a price to pay. And here it is. It's kind of coming to fruition, and AJ and him just, being messed up. She's blaming the teacher. What kind of poem is that?
Of course. He could do no wrong. Talk store back room. Tony sits with Patsy, and Patsy's talking. We're not too young to be grandpas. Of course, Patsy would love for the kids to get married. So he's brother-in-laws with the boss.
Secures his position, of course. Yeah.
All right. Not brother-in-laws. What are they? In-laws.
In-laws.
Just in-laws. Suddenly they'll be having Sunday dinner together. Carlo arrives. It's Carmine Lupatazzi. We should have dinner. Calm down, and maybe the kids. Is there anything I could do, Tom, for Anthony Jr.? Brings up his daughter, the bout of anorexia. Did she try to kill herself? No. So everyone's given a problem that kid has, but no one has as big a problem as AJ, at the moment, right? The reason I'm here, you can probably guess.
The alteration, he calls it.
Alteration.
Which it is kind of it's an alteration of his dental work and his mouth, basically. Yeah. And then he says, you're at the precipice of an enormous crossroad. Another just ridiculous malapropism, however you say that word. He says, Phil might shut down the mall project. And he's like, oh, that's what it's about. It's about your money. How much do I owe you? And he says, no, you don't know me. It's not about that. And Tony admits that he lost it. He went further than he was planning and was out of control. And he relents and realizes he probably should go talk to Phil for the benefit of the business.
Melfi's office, once again, very deep, complicated episode. Tony, why me? Doesn't every parent make mistakes?
I'm a good
guy. Big pause, basically.
He's not a good guy.
You think you know? But are any of them good guys?
But we're not talking about any of them. I mean, he's saying he's a good guy. Are any of them good guys? I don't know. Not necessarily.
You think you know? You think you learned something? When I was in Vegas, I took peyote. She said
I saw some things. He says, not hallucinations, not like Roger Corman. Roger Corman directed a movie called The Trip, written by Jack Nicholson. 1967 release with Peter Fonda, Bruce Dern, Dennis Hopper. A lot of the same crew from Easy Rider. Cost $100,000 to make, and it grossed $6 million.
Really?
Big success, yeah. Lots of psychedelic acid trip hallucination stuff in this movie. He says, I didn't see hallucinations, but I saw for certain that everything we see and experience is not all there is. There's something else. And he says, I don't know. He says, our mothers are bus drivers. The bus is the vehicle. They drop us off and go on their way, and we keep trying to get back on the bus. We can almost grab it, and then he's searching for something, but I think for Tony Soprano, this is why I think he's dead. Because it's a day late and a dollar short for Tony Soprano to have some kind of redemption. That's my opinion.
He says, I love my family, the yin and the yang. He asked Melfi if she ever took acid. Melfi saying, what, alternative universes? I don't know. You have thoughts, you could almost grab them. I don't know. I don't know what he saw, what he was looking to see. I don't know. Confusing a little bit to me.
Yeah, I guess so.
A little bit to me, Tony says, Jesus, don't act so surprised. They're very insightful, meaning that after what Elliot told her, that maybe Tony did learn something here.
Yeah.
He's talking like he knows, right?
Sure.
Phil's house, Tony little comment arrived. Butch answers the door. Phil's not accepting visitors right now. I just talked to him on the phone. He's not seeing anybody. He says, I've broken this, came here to make peace offering a semi-trailer of drills, Makitas that they got from Florida. So in exchange for him beating...
Almost killing somebody.
Someone, he's going to get the drills, which how much could that be worth?
40 grand? I don't know.
60 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand. You're going to give you that in exchange? It sounds so ridiculous.
And Phil's just done with him. And he also made them come all the way out there so he could just fucking turn them away, make him feel like a jerk off. And Phil just basically calls him a cocksucker. He says, fuck you. It's funny because you don't see Phil. You just hear his voice. It's kind of hilarious in the window there.
And he says, Uncle Philly. He says, Uncle Philly, my ass. Then in the hospital, AJ watches a TV commercial about not being able to sleep.
And it was with Lincoln. He mentioned Lincoln in an episode that Lincoln had depression, right?
And then you also had Lincoln Logs.
Lincoln Logs. Sure.
Tony arrives at the hospital with a pizza. They won't let him bring it in. As AJ said, you can't bring outside food. It's very sad ending. They walk.
That's an Italian lullaby, the last song called Nina Nina. It's an old folk song lullaby, which I guess is Tony being the dad there, being kind of the father to AJ. AJ was watching the thing about insomnia and hears this lullaby and hears dad being comforting. So Tony trying to make this attempt at being,
wonderful performances. A sad episode.
Yeah.
A heavy, sad episode. But wonderful performances by
Seriously.
Robin and Edie and Jim. And
all right. Well, where we are.
You know what I'm going to do after the podcast is over? I'm going to go to Vegas and I'm going to take peyote. And
I want to be with you. I want to be there for that.
Should we
go? And then we'll do the podcast.
Let's do the podcast on peyote. We'll do the finale.
Good question.
On peyote. So hold on. Let me get my question in. Andy fucked it up. He used to put them in order. But now that he's a big king shit. Fucking Andy.
Boy, I don't want to be the guy he was yelling at. I mean, I'd be really afraid if I was him. And I'm glad it's not me. And I really don't know what he was talking about. I really want to get to the bottom of it.
Now it's time for the Talking Sopranos Ask Me Anything segment. The winner of our AMA Best Question is Michael from Boonton, New Jersey. And we're sending Michael a pair of Bose headphones.
Boonton, that's where Christopher Moltisanti went to high school. Boonton.
And that's
Michael,
also where, isn't that where Jackie Jr. got killed?
Boonton, yes.
Yeah.
Michael asks, he's asking me, Michael, since you wrote the episode From Where to Eternity, can you go into a little bit of detail about what Christopher's dreams meant as far as 3 o'clock? 3 o'clock in the beginning of the spiritual mythology of the series. What were your intentions as far as portraying the afterlife and ghosts? One of my favorite scenes in the episode is when Paulie goes to the psychic, How did that come about in your writing? How do you think it relates going forward to some of the other things that Paulie faces later, like the superstition over the cat or the vision of the Virgin Mary? You know what? I'm just going to finally just say what this means, because I'm really tired of clamming up about it, and I kind of want to put it to rest. I had the first mention of 3 o'clock. Now, David used it later on, and I'm not going to speak to why he used it or what he was using about. Why I put 3 o'clock. I was visited by a spirit about a year before the pilot, one night in my apartment, of a middle-aged woman who came in my room while I was asleep. I was in a hotel, not in my apartment.
At 3 a.m.?
I was living at the Chelsea Hotel, and this came in at 3 a.m. And the first thing I asked her, I said, why didn't you come at midnight? She says, we don't come at midnight. We come at 3 a.m. And she told me about the Sopranos and about, not exact words, but in some way communicated that I was going to be doing this series and playing this killer and this character, and it was going to be a big success. A year before the pilot.
A year before the pilot.
Yeah.
What was her name?
I don't know. She was like middle-aged. She had long hair.
Did she have a mole?
She was
with
very
hair
thin.
Coming out of it?
No. So there you have it. Because I knew if I brought this up, people are going to think I'm crazy, or going to think I'm strange.
So there was a ghost visited you and kind of implicated that you were going to be a success? You were going to get a series? What?
Yeah, exactly that. It was going to be a killer, complicated character, and it was a show about like murder, and it was going to be a big success.
And you woke up in the morning and you remembered seeing this?
No, I woke up at 3 o'clock.
So I
was not sleeping. I was awake. This was a real spirit. It wasn't a dream, Steve.
It wasn't a dream?
No.
So how'd she get in? She knock on the door?
He's a ghost. They go through material.
So she came through the door, and you were laying.
I don't know if
bed?
she came through the door. Why does she need to go through the door if she's a ghost? Okay. She could come through the ceiling or the floor or the window.
What are you getting all uptight? I'm answering your question. I'm trying to understand. You get all uptight, man.
You're trying to find logic to something that has no logic.
So
there's no logic to this.
Were you laying in the bed?
Yes.
Were you drunk or high?
No.
And how long did she stay? How long the conversation was?
10 minutes.
Okay. So that's what 3 o'clock means. This woman came, told you you're going to have great success playing in this.
I've never seen her again, and I wish I did, because I have stuff to ask her. So that's where it comes from. Now, one of your favorite scenes in the episode, Michael, is when Paulie goes to the psychic. That a friend of mine went to a psychic and described it very much like what you see in the episode with Paulie. He was seeing spirits. He was talking to stuff. He was asking questions. And my friend was there. It happened to him, and he got really, really, really freaked out. And the guy was very accurate, talking about people in his life and naming names, naming places. And the guy just lost it and was really, really, really frightened. That's how that came about. How does it relate to going forward? I think David liked Paulie being superstitious. I think he thought that would be a funny thing to track and a funny quality for Paulie Walnuts, as played by Tony Sirico. And I think that's why he kept some of that stuff in and had him have these superstitions and even visions later on.
All right. You answered a lot of questions right there.
I never wanted to bring that up because it sounds so crazy and ridiculous, but it's true. There you have it.
But you've talked in the past about seeing spirits and ghosts.
Steve, I have one foot in the other world, okay? That's it. That's the truth.
It seems that you do. Yeah. I've never seen a ghost. How come they don't visit me?
Because I don't think your mind is open to it. That's why.
So I'm closed-minded.
You're very skeptical.
I'm a simpleton, you're saying.
No, I said you're skeptical. Your mind is closed to that. I didn't say your mind is dull. I said your mind is closed.
I'm very skeptical.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You're closed off to those possibilities. You have to have an open mind to those things. And then the spirit will trust that they can reveal themselves to you.
I wish she would have came before we started the podcast and told you not to do it, because we could have saved ourselves a lot of fucking time. Great question, Michael from Boonton, New Jersey. Enjoy your Bose headphones. And there you have it. Michael couldn't be more honest. That's it.
There's nothing else to say.
A terrific answer. That's it. That's what 3 o'clock means, and that's that. Thanks
Putting
for
that to bed, finally.
That's it. Thanks for listening. Remember, new episodes are released every Monday. Please subscribe to the Talking Sopranos podcast, YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get your podcast. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and like us on Facebook.
Executive producer is Jeff Sussman. Our producer is Andy, a.k.a. Arthur Verderam. Our music was composed and performed by Elijah Amerton. You can hear more of Elijah's music and the band Zopa, which Elijah and I play in together, by clicking the links on TalkingSopranos.com. Our production crew includes Ty Verderam. Sierra Schirripa. Talking Sopranos is a Pod Jams production.
All right, so I'll see you maybe in Joshua Tree. We'll take peyote and
there you go.
Do the finale. What the hell?
We'll do the podcast, but we won't record it.
No, we'll just do it. I'll see you next week.